welcome to another Kemetic Byte. I'm your host, Sharon. I had a longer than intended delay in posting new videos, and the primary reason for that was back in April, I stepped on one of Mother Nature's marbles, also known as a sweet gum ball, and sprained my foot in my driveway, and that had me off of my feet for a couple of weeks. And in the process, I had to spend that time getting around on this cane, which actually I had inherited from my father-in-law. And the funny thing with that, I was all set to do a little Kemetic Byte on that and talk about disability in ancient Egypt, which would be an interesting topic. We have plenty of evidence about that, most notably from the tomb of Tutankhamun. Because you see, he was buried with about 130 different walking sticks, canes, and the like. A few of them might have looked sort of like this, only, carved with the enemies of Egypt on the handle. But it was because, as new research has found, he had deformities in his foot that kept him from walking the way most of us would. So he probably had to use those canes to get around a lot. One thing that I learned from my own experience, about a week and a half hobbling on a cane, is when you're putting that much weight on it, you end up using your triceps quite a bit and some of the muscles in your arm, which means if you're doing this all the time, you've probably got a pretty good build in your arms. Which means, yeah, he probably was pretty cut. He could have gone to the gun show, as some guys like to put it. And also, in the hereafter, I wouldn't recommend trying to challenge him to arm wrestling. You might lose. But aside from that bit of interesting insight, there's one thing that I discovered earlier this week that frankly has me rather hot. And I want to share this with you. There's probably going to be some creative editing in here, but let's go. I got a question from a viewer who said they would love for me to review Eye of the Sun by Kerry Wisner. And I said, yeah, that would be a great book to review, because that was the basis for Hwt-Hrw, which, probably not saying it right, but the way they spell it is, kind of hard to actually pronounce. But that was a temple that started in about 2000, and you can kind of trace its lineage from there to the Kemetic Temple of San Jose and the Kemetic Temple of San Francisco, or one of the other places in California. You guys know who you are. You're welcome to comment and share on that. I would love to review that book. As a matter of fact, I went and I found it on Amazon not long after I did that episode and put it in my wish list. At the time, it was about $16 or so, I think. I know it was under 30, but it was a little more than I had at that point. I said, well, let me wait and, sell a few more things online, get some money, and actually buy the book. Well, earlier this week, I was at that point. So I go back on my phone and I get back onto my Amazon wish list, and yay, what did I find? Take a look. The book is now going for $1,054.99. What the hell? And this is not the first time it's happened to me either. Rewinding about 10 years, the first time this happened, I was looking for A Guide to Religious Ritual at Abydos by Rosalie David. This book is used a lot by Kemetic Reconstructionists and others that are trying to build rituals based on Egyptian temple prototypes. And they wanted about $1,100 for the book at that time. And I thought that was a little ridiculous. So I contacted the seller and they said, well, this is what the market will support. Really? So, not to be deterred, I used my business email that I had at the time so that no one would peg me as a weirdo. And I actually emailed Rosalie David at the Manchester University in London. And, you folks who are in London could say specifically where. But I contacted her, and she emailed me back. Because I told her, hey, did you know that your book is going for this price? And I think I even gave the link. And she said, wow, yeah, maybe I need to talk to my publisher about getting another edition done. Because the publisher that did it originally in the early 80s is now defunct. She didn't have any extra copies at that point. And what she did tell me is that it was based on her dissertation that she did at the University of Liverpool. So, if you want to find it now and not pay the $455.68 that it's going for now on Amazon. Or if you want a brand new copy, $1,268.27. If you want to say that, just go to the University of Liverpool and look for her dissertation. It's essentially the same text. $1,200? What do you think this is, Bitcoin? But that's not all. Earlier this year, I decided to look up the Temple Festival Calendars of Ancient Egypt by Sharif el-Saban, which is another work that is very heavily used by Kemetics because it gives a lot of information on feast days for different deities. But that one has a price that's been fluctuating, and I swear it's been fluctuating based on how many times people have looked for it. Because right now it's going for $366.90, but I challenge you guys to go and look for it, and let's see if the price climbs. I'm thinking that the reason for this is because of algorithms, because there's all sorts of things out there now that can track traffic and hits on something, and there's probably some kind of function now for sellers on Amazon. I know that on eBay, which is where I do a lot of my selling, they can suggest a price to you based on other sales of similarly titled, or categoried items. So Amazon might have something going like that, but here's the problem. Who among us has $1,000 to spend on an Egyptology book? You show me a Kemetic that can spend $1,000 on a book like that, and I want to know how many cult members are sleeping in your house, okay? It's excessive. The market really can't support that. Even $366, that's still more pricey than most textbooks. Drop it by $100, come on. So there's the problem. There are a lot of books that I would love to be able to get access to so that I can review them for viewers, or that I can cite them in books like the one that I'm working on right now, but the price is rather prohibitive. And I've also found out if you are not a university student, for one, if you're an alumnus, then you cannot do interlibrary loan. You only have access to what a library has on hand. And you can do interlibrary loan through a public library, but the problem is the library that is asking for the book has to pay for the shipping and insurance. Some libraries don't want to do that, especially if the book is something that's relatively rare, it's coming from the Library of Congress or something like that, or this is a library in an area like mine that probably doesn't have a whole lot of money. It's like, look, we're a public library. So that's a challenge if you're not in a university program and you want to get access to some of these books. Another thing is, we as fellow Kemetics might be able to talk to each other and maybe loan some books out. This is where you could come in. If there's something that you really want me to review and you have a copy of it, message me, let's talk. I'll pay shipping and insurance, and I can read it, I can give you a shout out. If you want to trade, if you've got an old copy of something you don't want anymore, I'll trade you for a signed copy of one of my books. There's different ways that we can try and do this and save ourselves from having to pay ridiculous prices for books that, again, who among us can afford that? At the time I was thinking, well, maybe this is because somebody just wants to be a jackass and list it for that kind of price because they can. And I still wonder, somewhere in the back of my mind, if that might be the reason why some people are doing this. But whatever the case, you just put yourself out of a sale. None of us are going to be able to pay for that, okay? So if anybody who lists on Amazon is watching, this just has me really hot. And the reason why is because I'm all about making sure that information is available for anyone. I list, my bibliography with the hope that people will look through it and go to find some of these things. And that's why I'll include links, to works that are published through, things like the University of Chicago. They have a digital archive. I actually went and bought a couple of books from the press for the French Institute of Oriental Archaeology based in Cairo. And FedEx shipping from Cairo can get kind of steep, but it's a way that you can get things that people are asking ridiculous amounts of money for elsewhere because, it's out of print, from its original run. In the meantime, I'm going to have another how-to guide episode come up in another week. I just got one finished not too long ago. And I'm also going to be doing a convention this summer. It's Transformers, so hey, if you're a Transformers fan, then this will definitely be your bag. But if not, just come and see me because I'll still have some of my Egyptian things at the table. It's going to be TF Expo, August 3rd and 4th in
Kansas City,
Missouri. So that's going to be a Friday and a Saturday. It's a fairly small convention, I'm thinking, because they weren't able to book Sunday as well. But hey, it'd be a chance you could come meet me. I'll have the video camera. Maybe we can, do some shout outs, something like that. If you're in the Midwest area, it would be a great opportunity for us to meet. And also, if you are a Transformers fan, the voice of G1 Grimlock and G1 Perceptor will be there, so that'll be a cool opportunity. You had one question that I definitely wanted to answer, but there are some rather interesting circumstances that are preventing that, and I wanted to share them with you, because this is something that perhaps us as a community, we can do something about. So for the Kemetic How-To Guide and Kemetic Bytes, this is Sharon wishing you Sanipti.
Do you have a question about Egyptian paganism? Share it in the comments section, and it could be the topic of the next Kemetic Byte. Don't forget to subscribe, and check the video description for more ways to support the Kemetic Independent channel.